Welcome to the third part of web development
The
tutorials.
paragraph tag, p tag. So the CSS code that we have added before, the styling that we have added inside the CSS code will be applied to this code. Okay, so PHP starts with the uh, so opening bracket, question mark, PHP, and then question mark and closing bracket. This includes the PHP code. Okay, so here is the declaration or initialization of a variable that is starts with dollar sign. This is basically a syntax of PHP code which initializes a variable which can take the input or gives an output, or we can perform some operation on these variables. The initial value of this variable cnt, that is count, is 0, and we end the statement or every line, every piece of code that we have been writing in this PHP language is ending with the semicolon. Like English language, the sentence written in English language ends with full stop, okay, or period. So basically the count variable has the initial value 0. Here is a loops are used to do multiple iteration on a single thing. Okay, it perform iterations based on the condition we given in these, we give in these brackets. Okay, so while while count is less than equal to 4, it means that when the condition is true, write the code or execute the code inside the parentheses. Okay, these are called parentheses. Write this parentheses to add the code inside the while loop. So this is, these parentheses is the body of while loop, which have a code that runs according to the condition given inside this bracket. So it adds the condition that when count is less than equal to 4, unless the count has the value 4 equals to 4, execute the code inside these, the body of while loop. Okay, so it comes to the body, and it adds count plus plus means add 1 to the initial value of count. It adds 1, it means that the value is first the value is 0. It writes echo means output, print. Echo means print, it will print hello world. What will it print? It will print hello world first time, then it will go back to the while loop and comes to the condition. The count value was 1. Okay, still it is less than 4, condition is true, it will go to the echo and again print hello world. Now the count value is then 2, then it will go to 3. Unless the value equals to 4, it will print hello world. Okay, so when the value increases from 4, then it will stop there and goes to the end of the body and HTML code, and it will stop the code right there and give you the final output. Okay, so you see that we have a heading, this is a PHP text, and then it goes to the while loop where the count value was 0. The count value was 0, it is less than 4, the condition is true. Okay, less than 4 condition is true, it will print hello world. This is when the count value is 0. Then it will add count plus 1. The count value will become 1, which is still less than 4. It will again print hello world. This is the hello world output when the count value was 1. Okay, then it will again add 1 to the 1, which means the count value will become 2, which is still less than 4. It again print hello world here, the value was of the count is 2. Okay, then again it adds 1, the count value will be 3, which is still less than 4. It again print hello world for the fourth time. When the count is 0, it prints hello world. When the count value is 1, it prints hello world. When it comes to the 4, when the count value will be equal to the 4, it gives echo world 4. And when the condition becomes false, it means that the value exceeds from 4, the count value will become 5. It stops the code right there and stop giving the output. So when the value was 0, hello world, value was 1 here, here the value was 2, here the count value was 3, here the count value was 4. You can see that when the value was 5, there is no hello world printed after the value was 4 in the count variable. So this is the PHP code, and this is called hard running of the code. This is how you run the code the hard way. So try to learn to run the code hard way, because it makes your coding more efficient. Okay, PHP is getting really popular in the web developers community because it gives server side support, and it also gives ODBC, is basically a database communication software or languaging tool, which also have the database support, so that when you have an input, you can save that input in the database without using your own computer's memory. Instead, you are using server's memory. PHP developer community think that this is the web future, which is wrong. Right now, the coding that we will be learning in our next sessions will be the front end coding. Front end coding which includes HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then jQuery, then Bootstrap is basically an API of JavaScript and CSS, and then React.js. React.js is basically the recent and the latest and most popular front end scripting API of JavaScript. So basically everything, every language has its own value. PHP is basically popular on server side of coding. Here is also another link for you to learn some examples of PHP. Drawbacks is that there is no security in PHP. PHP is not a very secure language. It also, you can add some code which is called hex code, or another manipulative codes which can encrypt your whole coding, that is MD5 encryption. Okay, you can add that kind of security, but still it is not that much secure as compared to the ASP language. Okay, easy manipulation of code for hackers. Hackers can easily manipulate the server side code of PHP and can steal your data on the server. These are the two drawbacks of PHP. Come to the CGI, Common Gateway Interface. Common Gateways interface is basically a standard for external gateway program to interface with information servers such as HTTP server. HTTP is basically a networking protocol. Okay, this is a terminal protocol, Hypertext Terminal Protocol Server. Hypertext Terminal Protocol Server basically provides you with some standards that a developer should follow to publish their web pages on the server. It also provide Common Gateway Interface also provide real-time execution. You can see the execution on right on the developing mode. While developing something, you can see the output right away in the real-time interfaces. Main objective is that dynamic content, there is no static content, there is a dynamic content which where the data is provided from the server side, and it already have the values saved inside it. And the main objective of web development is to make the user interface more user friendly, more interactive, more attractive for the user to deal with. Current version is of CGI is 1.12. Okay. Various choices in programming languages selection. In CGI gateway interface, you can use various languages like Perl, Python, C++, and C. These languages are used to code inside the common gateway interfaces. Okay. Perl is right now, Perl is also most popular and widely used language across Europe, not in the Asian continent or Middle East, but in Europe, most people uses Perl these days for the web development. This is also a server-side interface gateway which provides server-side execution. Script run as a standalone process, unlike PHP. Okay, the script runs uh, in a separate way, in a separate process, turn by turn. Whereas in PHP, PHP is not a standalone process. Okay, PHP use different languages to interact with the web server and the client side web page. Basic difference with PHP is the execution approach. There is a difference between the execution process in both of them. CGI has its own execution approach, whereas PHP has its own execution approach. Now come to the Perl language. Perl is also a server-side language, also used widely across the world, and is also a very famous language for web development. Commonly used Perl libraries right now are CGI.pm, DB, DBI, CPAN, MySql. MySql is also used by PHP. Basically, in MySql, we write a code to develop our database or insert values in our database or retrieve value from the database. Basically, MySql is based upon queries, where we can use queries to build a database. Like if I want to create a database, I will write a command create database, then database name. Like if I want to use say, to make a database of student, I will write create database, then the name of students. So the database with the name of student is created, then I will write create table name, create table father's name, create create table name, and then add attributes father name, first name, last name. Okay, so these kind of things. So MySQL is also another field inside the web development where which deals with the database manipulation. More on Perl libraries, you can read more about Perl on perl.com or perl.org. Okay, here is a sample code of a Perl. Perl basically start with the hash, and then it gives you the location of the language. You have to install the library of Perl first inside your computer, whereas in PHP you do not need to install anything. Okay, then you write your code print env demo CGI program. So basically this gives you a simple quotation that this codes only print simple printing code CGI program in its environment. Print content type text, plain text, /n means it gives line spacing, /n one line space, then another line space. For each is also an example of loop in which the variable access all other variables. This is basically a sorting condition in which is use keys and mod of env, then variable, and then it will add the values in it and then print final value, that is $var. var basically enters inside the parenthesis, so it will take the value of val, that is our variable. These are some examples which gives you some many other examples, simple examples of Perl code. Drawback is same as PHP. It has security drawback. It has easy manipulation of code for hackers, so that hacker can easily take your data from the server. Then comes to the modules of Perl for Apache. Apache is basically a server module that brings together the power of Perl and Apache HTTP server. So basically the the code written in Perl runs on Apache Hypertext Terminal Protocol server. You need an Apache server which needs to be configured according to your need. So you have to configure your server so that you can run your Perl code on that server. So there are modules, many other modules that are used for that. Perl interpreter. So basically interpreters are used to run the Perl code. Perl interpreter already embedded in the Apache Hypertext Terminal Protocol server. It also already have interpreter to interpret the Perl code so that it will give the output in the form of web page. Okay. Can provide 10x speed ups for CGI. So basically Apache is a very fast server. It can give more speed to the execution. Like if I run my Perl code on any other server or any simple server, my page loads within just say 10 seconds or 15 seconds. But when I do that on Apache server, my whole code is embedded in Apache server, then it loads my web page within a second. So basically it speeds up your code, and this is due to the registry module inside the Apache server. It reduces the load on server. Module basically reduce the load on server. It neglects every extra line of code and only focuses on the code that is needed to be executed. Okay, so when we have learned about interpreter and compiler, so basically the interpreter on Apache server is faster than the local interpreter. Okay, so local interpreter goes through every line of code and look for error and gives you the output. So Apache server's interpreter is faster. It neglects every extra piece of code and focuses on the code that is needed to be processed or needs some execution.
Subscribe my channel for the next part of the video.